Hello, my name is Brian Tracy, and I'm a professional speaker and management consultant. And I want to introduce you to my good friend, Linus Okorie.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Linus Okorie.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for jumping in. Welcome to the Power Hour. That was Linus Okorie. I'll tell you a little bit more about him. He's actually coming to Atlanta, going to be another great case of global opportunities. You'll hear a little bit more about it. I think he's going to join us closer to the end of the show to talk about his masterclass. We have a masterclass, which is a case of a global opportunity that we decided to work with Dr. Linus as a leadership guru. That's actually going to be coming in town on July 18th. So just make a mental note of that. We'll share some information as we go during the course of the show. Thanks for jumping in. Ricardo Berry's here, chair of the Global Opportunities Committee for the Atlanta Black Chamber. Delighted to have you here. Some housekeeping, just keep your microphones on mute. Happy to take your questions. You can raise your hand or put them in the chat. Let us know, the who you are in the chat and sort of where you're coming from. We have an interesting conversation that we're going to have today about readiness. This will be recorded, so you can find it later if you would like to rewatch or re-listen to the discussion. And as we continue on our quest for global opportunities and for interconnecting our worlds into one, if I may put that, we've been thinking a lot about how can we be of value continually to our global opportunities community and folks who are interested in going global. You can go global from anywhere. Know that, and you don't necessarily need to be in a specific place to do that. You can go global in any high growth sectors. I think the question really is, how ready are you? So today's conversation is going to be particularly about readiness, because it's actually a launch that we want to do. We want to launch a series to talk about readiness that we believe is foundational to sustainable international growth. And so when people think about, global opportunities, they probably think about whether it's countries or markets or, whether trade mission, other things, investment, but the opportunities themselves don't create, outcomes. It's actually readiness that actually does that. And so the question is, how ready are we? And so people pursue international opportunities. People pursue just opportunities, period, before they're actually prepared to capture them. And which is very interesting, because the pursuit of opportunity is essentially different from the capturing of opportunity. And so when we talk about, seeking customers before, you have a system, you talk about seeking investors before you have that sort of investment readiness put together, or even partnership before you sort of build, if you may, this credibility and trust. People do business with people they know, like, and trust, and this is kind of why we're consistent with the show every week, so you can get to know who we are. At least you can see the faces, you can learn about the business, and it builds a certain level of knowledge around each of us. And if that holds true, it has been true for many years. Knowing someone, liking them, trusting them before you do business with them, that's a real golden rule. And so this idea of being successful internationally, it doesn't just happen by accident. It actually requires some intentional preparation. And so we thought that over the next coming weeks, what we will do is to take a deeper look at the three areas of our focus within the Global Opportunities Committee, which is trade, partnership, and investment. And so how do we gain more success around trade? How can we be ready for that? How can we be ready for partnership? and investment. And so today we're going to really sort of talk about the foundation for these for those conversations. And then the goal now is going to be to explore what is it that your business or general organizations need to know about sort of the capabilities they need to build before they pursue opportunities across borders. And if you have been doing anything across borders, please put it into the chat because we'd love to know as you introduce yourself, where are you doing anything now? Have you crossed into any specific jurisdiction and what are you doing over there? It would be nice to know what you're doing across borders or internationally. And so we have familiar faces. Paul, I think, will be joining us shortly. But of course, we have Dr. Harvey here, who is our or leadership and cultural lead for the GOC, but he's also the creator of the capital concept, the capital program that actually came out of our delegation to East Africa. So we're going to explore what it actually really means to be ready, and why readiness may be one of those sort of overlook, if you may, competitive advantage in the global business. So Doc, thanks again for jumping in. I appreciate you. Was it last week you hosted a Power Hour and you had a big time attorney on the call, I understand. So thank you for serving, and we appreciate it. We have some folks here who may not know who you are, may not know your background. And so if you don't mind, just say hello and tell us a little bit about who you are, but then also sort of how did we get into this whole idea of you helping us on the investor readiness track, if I may put it that way, as we dive into this conversation.
Sure. Thank you, Brother Chairman. Always enjoy the opportunity to share and be with our community. Good morning, family. So glad to be with you. Dr. Nicholas Harvey, Principal CEO of Nicholas Harvey Consulting. And as our chairman has shared, I indeed am the leadership and culture lead for the Global Opportunities Committee of the GOC. So in association with the Atlanta Black Chambers. So just glad to be here with you. Family, my background, I was raised by educators. And, they always equated education with liberation. And what was so important about it is that my father was trained in economics and history. So we'd always have those conversations. And my father would always say to me, you know what? Two things run the world, economics and the law. And I would say, hey, Dad, I don't know. I'll go with economics because you can always buy a politician or a lawyer. So with these conversations around money, and freedom, liberation, financial freedom. That's entrepreneurship has become that path for me, that path for us. And so I think just essential that these conversations around access to capital for entrepreneurs is so very, very important. I had the privilege when I joined the Atlanta Black Chambers a year ago to be a member of that third cohort around capital readiness, which was in partnership with the United States Black Chambers. You all may recognize, in light of the political changes, going on, that opportunity went away for us, but the need did not. And so the need still remains for us as entrepreneurs to have access to capital, but there is a particular hurdle or a particular step that I like to talk about. I know as a child, I used to spend my time running up and down the stairs in my house, right? And you can see me trying to, jump to the second step and go into the third step. Well, at my age, I don't jump steps. In the same way, in our businesses, we don't need to skip steps. And so in our conversations as part of the Global Opportunities Committee, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, business foundations, business basics, we are not skipping steps. And the benefit of being here is you get to know what those steps are. You have to discover them, explore them, how that fits in your business. Many of us are creating these revenue generating businesses that are not sustainable. And so what really does it take for us to build an investable business? An investable business is a fundable business. At some point in time, as a business owner, we will all have the need for outside funding of some sort. And so, what we like to say in the African American community here in the United States is that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So we're prepared to have this conversation around readiness. Glad to be with you on today. Certainly, we'll take your questions. And the Global Opportunities Committee of the Atlanta Black Chambers, we have programming, the Concept of Capital program, and we'll say more about that later. But let's start with our foundations so that we can indeed be ready.
Yeah, and and thanks, Doc. So remind us again, sort of like how did you get here? Like, why did you decide to do this? What inspired you? Because you people may ask, well, you're a leadership person. This is sort of your space. Why do you want to do this?
Yeah. Prior to, how do I describe it? I'm a serial retirer. I've had lots of experiences in my life, pastor, military officer, professor, and teaching public policy down at Georgia State University here in Atlanta. All my research was around finance. So that understanding around, I have an MBA in finance from Emory University. So understanding that is so very, very important, and the need for it. Again, when it comes to freedom for us, let's talk about us as a people. We talked about Juneteenth, where folks down in Texas were late, recognizing that they were indeed free. But guess what? June 19th is great. But what are you going to do on June 20th? And we find that our forebears spent a lot of time building their institutions. While we were enslaved, we were able to actually buy our freedom. We were capital. We were human capital, in the economic system of this country. So for me, there are historical foundations there, but for the need where we are right now, that in our communities, there's a great need to understand money, how money flows, how money works, and addressing this challenge around access to capital, because there have been a number of barriers, systemic and otherwise, that we want to be able to address. So we can go ahead, and I'm just going to put it out there for you, friends. Let's go ahead and get the money, right? We entered into entrepreneurship for many different reasons. Some of us left the corporate world. Some of us maybe want to leave a legacy, for our families. Maybe there's an impact that you want to achieve. So I think it's important that we do it. I'm so passionate about it because in this phase of my life, first 20 years of your life, you learn. Next 20 years of your life, you earn. Next 20 life, you start focusing about leaving your legacy. And so we think about what that is like. And I'm happy to be here and serve and be a part of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and if you agree with me, put in the chat, say, get the money, right? Because our objective is to get folks as close to the money as we can and understanding what that takes. For the grown folks in the room who understand it, we're going to have this mature conversation about some things that we can do. And we're honored and privileged to be able to support and partner in that regard.
Yeah. That's helpful. And so I want us to talk about readiness, and I mean it sounds simple. It sounds simple. It sounds clear. It sounds like we can all define it and kind of explain it. And in my mind, it's really sort of readiness is an ability. I'm not sure if you agree, but readiness it's an ability, but an ability to do what exactly? It's an ability. First of all, the ability of your company or the ability of my business or my organization, and of course, a lot of that also attributes to me personally as an individual, because your business takes on your personality. I'm not sure if you know that, but whoever you are in person, your personality translates a lot into the business that you run, because the business is really a cultural environment, and a lot of that culture mirrors who you are as an individual. So if you're saying the business readiness, it also is talking about you, like my readiness, right? As an individual. How ready am I? Because that impacts the readiness of my business. But ready to do what? So I want to put two words into our head because it's readiness and then it's also consistency. So it's readiness to consistently then create, create to consistently capture and to consistently sustain whatever our value is that we're purporting to or customers to our audience. It's important. It's not just having this sort of product or a service, but it's also having people, right? It's having systems, it's having, capabilities, it's having relationships that's necessary to actually do the transactions. And so for the GOC, because our focus is investment, it's all about that's money. It's about trade. It's about moving goods and services across borders. And then it's about partnership. It's like how do you pilot partnership in these different spaces that you're interested in going? And I want to give you examples of what that actually looks like, perhaps across all the three as well, because we've had some success stories and we've had some conversations. But Doc, what does readiness mean to you? Like, do you agree with the sentiment or with the idea that I just purport about readiness being an ability, and it translates from me being an individual to the company that I'm operating?
Most certainly, Ricardo. We appreciate that. Yeah. When you said ability, the first thing that came to my mind was our capability, right? So that capability, but we're able to then take that capability and move that strategically to action. So here's the instance. This is what happens for us. And I want us, if you're taking notes today, here's a great way for us to really start to move us, so that we can go ahead and, like I said, get the money, right? So what usually happens for us is we have the story. We really have a narrative. When Simon Sinek talks about start with why, there's a why for what we're doing this, but there's also there's a story behind why we think we can. And I think that that's so very, very important for us to be in spaces like this, where you can take a moment and in a calm, rational, non-judgmental space, articulate that, right? So sure, okay, why are you doing this? But also let's talk about why you think you can. Because moving from that story comes to a really crucial point where I think that we all need to take a pause. And that's called proof. So when I was at Georgia State University teaching, I taught evaluation. And one of the things that was always a refrain in the class was always as measured by what? So you have a story about your business. You have a story about your motivation. You have a story about, hey, I have this product, good, and service that people are going to want. Where's your proof? How do you know? As measured by what? That is the place where we want to be able to just take a pause, take a minute, because where is your proof? How do you know that you even have something that somebody wants, right? We have these great and wonderful ideas. So often it's like, oh, and I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that. Where's your proof? Then the next piece comes to looking at opportunities. And so often what happens to us is we just start with, oh, this is a great big world of opportunity. Let's roll it back. Let's engage in these types of opportunity, in these types of environments where, hey, yes, there's an opportunity out there, but you know what? I might not have the capability to be able to actually fulfill and execute on it, right? And the work that I do, working with folks around making decisions, that's the next step. Because here's the thing about leadership. Leadership is measured based upon the quality of our decisions. And as leaders and business owners and entrepreneurs, we make, you think about how many decisions do you make a day, right? Not just personally, but really about your business. And so when it comes to our businesses and making decisions, first thing, are you clear about the decision? So it's clear when we're making it, right, as it's being defined. but then also that it is aligned. And so those are the strategic alignment that we're talking about, right? While it's being implemented. But then here's the other piece. Is it defensible when it's judged? Because at the end of the day, our business decisions are judged. They're a reflection upon us, and our thinking. And as you mentioned about, it is about who we are. So we have our story. We have proof. Now that brings us to this world of opportunities that are before us. And now it's time for us to make decisions. And then what happens? Then we're able to take action. But we tend to jump. We hear, right now, all the opportunities that are available, in the motherland, right? Let's back it up, right? Why do you want to do this? Do you have the capability to do this? Can you execute on that? What's the proof? Do you have something that people want? And so I want us to take a moment and just breathe and do that type of rational, critical evaluation, because that's really when we start evaluating our capabilities. And that's where you're talking about our readiness to then execute and implement in a strategic fashion. Helpful?
Yeah, very helpful. So and please and guys, feel free to jump into the chat and share your perspective about this, because one opinion or one viewpoint is not it's not always the path that we want to go. This is sort of a mastermind conversation, if you may. So you're welcome to chime in. This is we're doing this readiness series because we really want to get to the heart of, peel back the onion, like what it is that's stopping us from sort of doing the things that we need to do or getting to our goals. And we surmise that the part of it is readiness. So you're welcome to chime into the chat, and if you want to raise your hand. Apologies for Paul. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it in time, but this is important. So why do organizations, like why do businesses pursue opportunities before they are ready? What is this? What is this? Is this a psychological thing, or what is the issue? Because a lot of businesses, I think, confuses opportunity with readiness. And
Yes.
so so we assume because there's a demand, right? We assume that because there's a demand, or there is funding, or there's an invitation to another market. Oh, I've got a piece of land, I've got this project, I've got a farm, I've got some services. They assume that because these things are there, they are ready to participate.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so, but opportunities, they always say, opportunities kind of show us up too. It amplifies our weakness just as much as it amplifies our strength. And I kind of want you to share your perspective on that, because if your system is sort of weak all around, and they always say, if you have $1 and you don't manage that well, if I give you $1 million, chances are you're not going to manage it well either, because the difference is just a number, but it's the same management, it's the same person. So you can take you can put $1 in the man's pocket, but you can't take the man from the dollar if he doesn't change, right? So what's your perspective on why do you think we go after these things without actually being ready for them?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a nice Southern perspective. I'm going to call it sweet potato pie. Sweet potato pie, it is a delightful confection. It's sweet, it's good. My grandmother was a pie baker. Best pie that would make. Her pies were so good that I would actually take them to teachers in school to try to get a better grade. Her pie was really that good. It's tempting. Opportunity is tempting. But let me tell you something. As good and tempting as it is, I do not like sweet potato pie. I don't. I don't care. And people have tried it and they've said, "Oh, Dr. Harvey, you haven't tried my sweet potato pie." It's like, no, 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 no. I tasted the best sweet potato pie out there. It's not for me. As a business owner, there are going to be some things that are not for me. And so the ability to know what we're saying yes to, that strong, compelling yes, and that type of focus, that then really puts for us, it closes the aperture. I'm not saying we have blinders, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we're looking for opportunities, but the opportunities must be in alignment with who we are. What is that strategic vision and that goal that we're, and the goals associated that we're trying to achieve? And some stuff is not for you. So when you make one decision, then that means you eliminate other decisions, right? So it was so funny. There are people who are on the call and they're in mutually faithful, monogamous, committed relationships. You said yes to that. So guess what that means? You say no to the other stuff. The idea from the Bible story that Eve was made from Adam's rib, right? One rib, no spare ribs. And so the same thing in our businesses. We don't have time for spare ribs. Focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on, being very, very clear about who we are, what we're about, who's the market that we're trying to serve. And so there are opportunities. What happens here for us is we're saying, hey, there's a market for my products, goods, and services here. I wonder if I could expand into a global market. That then becomes the conversation that we're taking a stepwise from to be able to see what it is that we're going to do. So yes,
Yeah.
so if ever you're tempted, just think sweet potato pie, and say, you know what, no, right now. So the fun thing in that story is, my grandmother would make chocolate cake for me, so I was satisfied. I didn't need sweet potato pie because I had chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is my lane. And so the same thing in our business. In our businesses, it's so important that we stay in our lanes, and we must be disciplined about those approaches. So I appreciate these types of conversations. Excellent question. Yeah, big wide world of opportunity.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
And speaking of that, because one example is so my background is tech, and most of you probably don't know what I do, but as I'm an entrepreneur, lifestyle. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 27 years. Crazy enough, it feels like it's going to be 3 decades. It's rounded up, right? Not giving away my age, but I mean, I did started this like, they always say from your eyes is at your knee, right? Um, but one of the things that we do a lot, so I meet at the intersection of tech and marketing and finance. That's kind of my sort of like my playground. And internationally, so we had one country, which is actually the Bahamas. So shout out to my peeps in the Bahamas, and if you're from the Bahamas or been to the Bahamas, it's a great spot. The Bahamas it's like family. It's like heart to me. A lot of people didn't know I used to live in the Bahamas actually, and I have companies in the Bahamas and partners, all that jazz. Because it's such a small nation, we basically used to test in that market before we go anywhere else, to really determine, does this opportunity actually make sense? So, we develop software and we actually will do the testing in the Bahamas and say if the Bahamians, if they love this thing, then chances are we could potentially take it elsewhere. And to your point around sort of understanding when you are looking at sweet potato pie or the chocolate, I mean, I'm remembering that, easy to remember. But this idea of just sort of how do you know what to pursue and when to pursue? Deidre is saying into the chat, it's interesting because she says she can't speak for all of us, but sometimes it feels that jumping in is the only way to get the detailed information about the actual opportunity and the process. And it seems that that may not. She said it seems that not many out here teaching, right? Teaching the ins and outs of these opportunities in on the front end. And so we could benefit from some of our people who are in these spaces to really break it down, right, about what the opportunities are and what it really is to be ready. So this is obviously valuable to folks like Deidre. What do you have to say to that? Do you have any reaction to that response, rather?
Sure, sure. I think you started with it earlier when we said, all right, let's start with some relationships, right? Let's start with some relationships that we have with people, so you're thinking about moving into a market, into an area. What type of relationships do you have there? So the one you talked about, hey, you beta tested in the Bahamas. Great. But that second piece is understanding this. All business is contextual. All business is contextual. So, we talk about, my work with Leadership and Culture Lead is, so often we're like, oh my goodness, there's an opportunity. I got so excited when we were in Kenya, right? And it's like, okay, I'm seeing opportunities here, but I must take the time to understand the culture. Do I have a guide, right? And so often we jump in from our Western mindset of, immediately I'm going to go in and so on and so forth. Friends, one of the things that I learned in our East African travels is that there's another context, there's another mindset. I even realized, Ricardo, we were over there for a couple of weeks, that I was better in terms of relating when we had been there so long and I was tired. And so by the time I got to Ethiopia was like the best because I had gotten out of my whole Western mindset and I was able to come and to relate. And, it's the sort of thing, if it had been on the front end, because, you got to sit down, I got to have coffee. Right. And I'm so like, man, I don't drink coffee. I don't, whatever, we're tea drinkers. And so, but you know what? I'm open. So we're going to have a moment and we're going to have some coffee and we're going to build that relationship because that is so important in the context. And so I would always advise folks, let's start doing, what companies have done forever. And we always tend to think that sometimes it's got to always cost us money, right? Sometimes it costs you a relationship to investigate what indeed is going on in a given environment. So then you can learn and then you can grow. All right. So many of us talk about, you need to just jump. People write books about, just take the leap or whatever. It's like, I tend to look before I leap and I tend to check my equipment and it's to make sure that when I leap, that there are certain, sort of structural foundations around it that we have. Yes, I get it. As entrepreneurs, we fly planes while we're building them. Yes. There's something energetic about getting into it, and that motivation helps us. But also, let me go ahead and say it, friends, let's all have some good sense and use the resources that we have around us, like this community. It's wonderful. The fact that we know people literally around the world, people on this call. I was talking to somebody about our call today, and they're like, man, y'all wake up early. I said, no, because some of our partners, they're already awake. Right? People are already awake. They're already doing business. And so, you know what? We're gonna have to wake up and let's work it together. It's the ebb and flow. Don't be afraid, friends. This is a no shame zone. We talk a lot about our successes, but who knows, Brother Chairman, maybe we should have that conversation about how we messed up. Maybe that'll be fun. Right? Because
I know.
Because people, they see our glory, but they don't know our story.
Yeah, there's always that. The reality is that people, there's a song that I like that said, they see me on the mountain, but they don't see me on the climb, right? But I do want to talk about trade readiness because we're talking about readiness period, and we're gonna in the next coming weeks we're gonna be talking specifically about the investment readiness piece, the partnership, the trade readiness. But I want to touch a little on that, and I see Dr. Catherine. You have you want to weigh in. I'll give you a shot in a moment. But why isn't having a good product or service enough? I want to talk a little bit about that because trading is much more than having a service. Most of us here I advocate to a lot of our partners globally that look, the chamber, the makeup of the majority of us within the chamber, we're service providers. We don't necessarily have a physical product. Not all of us do provide service. Some of us do have products. I see some of us on the call that have actually products. But there's a little bit more than just having something to sell. This whole international trade, it requires some understanding. I mean, we know about the understanding of the regulation, the logistics, and the documentation that's necessary, and payments, customer expectations, and cultural differences. I have people interested in doing business in the US. They don't have a payment system, so we end up having to provide that for them, that sort of thing, right? After sales support, just all of these pieces that has to come together. And because a great product with a poor execution may not necessarily do so well either, right? So you have to also think about that. So what are the capabilities that we should build? What are those? What are those? So I want you to leave with some capabilities that you should build. And if you have like one or two words for your capabilities, like put it in the chat. Like, what are your capabilities? Because it comes from abilities. Like, what are they? And so, for example, market intelligence, it's a capability, right? Which of the market are you entering? I tell people all the time that GOC is a platform and it's like a stage we give you to dance. I was at the Haiti event yesterday. There's a lot of Haitians in town. There's a soccer game later today. FIFA World Cup is here in the city. I was also at the Morocco reception, and these guys are dancing compa and whatever the dance is in Morocco. I mean, it's a platform, right? They are dancing what they're good at. So if you put your capability, like what is your capability, you put it there, is like which market then are you interested in entering? And who is that customer then, right? Who is that customer that you want to target? What problem? Someone says start with why, but I also say yes, but also start with the problem. Because if you're not solving a problem, then what is the purpose? Is this a real problem that the market that I'm interested in is having? Is it a real problem? We realize that we live in a first world in North America, in the United States. A lot of folks live in a third world, so there's a gap. And so when you look at the opportunity difference, right, it's like a lot of what happens in the third world, it's training, it's training, it's education, because a lot of people just don't know. They don't have the technology. I mean, you take this idea of going to your AI as a luxury, and you can go to GPT, you can go to Claude, Gemini, you can go to all of them on the same computer or on the phone. You have multiple switches. But a guy who is doing business in Kenya or in South Africa, he doesn't have enough electricity to even power one of those up. And so he doesn't have that same level of, if you may, he has access, but it's not necessarily the same way. And so what is the problem that we are actually solving? Because opportunities are created. They're all created. They didn't just appear. I think that's probably the mistake a lot of us sort of think. Like, you can actually create an opportunity for yourself. And if you
Yes.
have the ability to create, you could literally design the opportunity the way that it works for you, as opposed to you going after the one and trying to kind of fit it into your mold. I don't know if Dr. Catherine, if you wanted to still, did we cover your point, or did you still want to have your point made? Go ahead, please.
Most definitely covered my point, and you explained it perfectly. Basically, I think we all, and I tend to do it myself, we kind of like tend to forget about the foundations of business planning, and especially conducting the market research, because every location is going to be different. Just like Atlanta, Georgia is different than New Orleans, Louisiana. And of course, another country, Nigeria, is going to be different than Kenya. So you have to be able to conduct that market research and see if whatever product or service that you're contemplating on entering to a market, if it fits, because not every service or product is going to fit a certain location. So making sure that you're understanding what your business plan says, and also if you're planning on entering the market, is that service and product needed? Will someone buy it? So
Yeah.
you hit it on the head.
Yeah. So it's market intelligence. That's one big takeaway for you. It's also operational in operational readiness, right? Can you actually deliver and deliver consistently? That is important. Can you actually scale? Because scaling is being able to repeat the thing without changing the thing that you're repeating, if that makes sense, right? And can you actually manage inventory and fulfillment? You know, we provide a service and we have a system, and so all you have to do is subscribe to the service, or everybody does get the same thing. It's the same thing that you actually get, right? And that's important, being able to build this sort of repeatable system. Then there's a financial readiness, because this thing does cost money. And I was talking to someone yesterday about the relationship that we have with money. And a lot of us are afraid of that relationship. And we are scared to death about this relationship with money, whether it's a good one or a bad one. But we don't have that relationship. So that financial readiness, can we absorb this kind of stuff? In the third world, payment cycles are much longer. Here, you get paid before, bro. Like you pay me, it's a prepayment. We need this money before. Over there, it's like, can we pay you 60 days, 30 days later? It's like, wait, what? Can we absorb those longer payment cycles? Can you actually handle foreign exchange exposure? Because here, I'm charging you $1,000 over there. You know, $1,000 is not the same as 1,000 rand, and people are like, man, I can't afford that. Or pesos. Can you imagine charging a pesos is different, the rand is different, and the naira is different, and it's like, can you handle the foreign exchange exposure? Because are you conscious that the guy is in Nigeria, you're charging him $10,000, and he'd be like, like it take me 2 years to make that. It's like, is that the customer that you want to actually deal with, or you want to do it in Brazil, the real, or the UK, the pound or euro, right? So it's about being able to think about that financial readiness piece, and then there's the compliance readiness. Is this you heard that a lot of that last week. Is it legal? You know, what about the certifications that you need to have, right? The customs, right? And any sort of thing that you need to package. The same thing happens with a physical product, can happen with a digital product. It needs packaging, it needs to be shipped, it needs the legal require, it needs all of those things. It needs a certification. And I look into the chat, and a lot of the capabilities, I mean, I don't understand a lot of the capabilities myself, but you may have your audience, and it's about how do you map those capabilities with, like, who is a good fit for that? Because then it doesn't belong to everybody. I want to go to Shanta real quick because I see your hand is up. Go ahead, Shanta.
Ricardo, my name is Shantae, but thank
Shantae, I'm
you.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shantae. Queen Shantae is in the building.
Hello, everyone. Brand Rising, Shira Ve Shalom. No, I just totally agree with everything that was said here today. Um, as when I first got with the Global Opportunities Committee, I had already had some global exposure, but I wasn't really doing any business internationally. And through the GovCon class that I was taking with the Women's League, it opened up other opportunities. And it goes back to what you were saying, as far as sometimes you can create that opportunity. Because during that class, I was seeing so many Black women losing their jobs from the US government, and here we were training on how to do business with the US government. So when the opportunity was presented to do more international business, I had to look at my capacity, and knowing that I did not have the skill sets or the expertise and knowledge to do business at that level yet, prompted me to create the consortium. And so that's how I was able to kind of structure and create a consortium that brought in those experts and people who were able, the relationships, going back to even what you were saying about building those relationships. I was able to really pull all those relationships together to create a consortium that would be able to serve the needs of those who we're looking to serve, those different countries, because each one of them, like you said, they all are different. They have different compliance and laws and things in place, and knowing those will help you to do business better. So, just a lot of the things that you all said are things that I've been implementing and are helping us to grow. And I
Yeah.
know that Karanta is here when you talk about the compliance and the capital ready. I took a model that was basically split it into four different working groups: capital and finance, the global development, legal and compliance, and then implementation and execution. So those things are very important for expanding your business. And I just want to agree with everything you all said. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen Shante. I appreciate that. So, market intelligence, operation intelligence, doc, operational readiness, financial readiness, compliance readiness. These are all a big part of sort of, I would say your readiness kit, and then the cultural intelligence. Don't forget the cultural intelligence piece because business is done differently around the world. All right. And so whatever that market is that you're going to choose, remember that cultural intelligence piece. Understanding culture is a competitive advantage, by the way. So as you put your readiness kit together, make sure you put that in there. And I don't know if we're missing any, Doc, but I'm going to also launch a poll shortly because I'd love to hear, Kura, how are you actually ready for these different opportunities? I want to talk about partnership as well, because partnership readiness. So there's the trade readiness, the investment readiness, and Dr. Harvey has gotten out the gate with the investment readiness piece, which is called the Concept to Capital program. He's got a community that he's building around getting ready for that. So he's started his within the GOC. Paul is helping us with the programming. So we're going to launch the trade readiness piece shortly. The partnership readiness, we're going to help with that as well. But I want to talk about partnership readiness. I see Sable. If I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Sable, I'm coming to you in a quick second, but I did want to drop this for folks. People don't partner with opportunities, right? They partner with business they trust. And remember, there's an intrinsic connection between you as a person and the business. So if they trust the business, that means they trust you. So remember that when you go after these opportunities, the partnership is not with the opportunity. It's with the individual. You never say, I would like to partner with whatever the capability that you have. I'd like to partner with with your real estate financing. I want to partner with you. And so there's the credibility that is needs to be in your readiness, partnership readiness kit, that credibility, the track record, the references, the reputation, right? That's important. The clarity needs to be there. Knowing exactly who you are, knowing exactly what your value proposition is. Because we don't need to say yes to everything and we don't need to say no to everything either. But knowing, if you say yes, then means you're saying no to a lot of stuff. And then there's a reliability. So it's the credibility, it's the clarity, it's the reliability, doing what you say you will do. And so what we've seen, there's a lot that actually is happening when it comes to partnership readiness, right? One example is that, so I have companies outside of the US, and the reason for that is because I was able to then build those kinds of relationships to actually do the partnership. But I have to understand that person, which means I find myself in that country having lunch or dinner, staying there for a week, sometimes getting an Airbnb for a whole month, right? I lived in these spaces, and if you look at my history, anywhere that I've actually lived, I have a better partnership, a better opportunity to do business there because I spent some time to be in the space. So that's important. Reciprocity is also important because then partnership is going to fail when it's just one-sided. It's not about me. It's about how can we serve you? How can we serve each other? So you have to always sort of think about that. We always say people like to talk about themselves. The first person you look at in a photo when you look at the result is who? You. So there is this natural tendency to only focus on yourself. But that reciprocity when you go across border, yeah, that is how you have to think through it. And so just because two companies, right, can work together, it doesn't mean that they should. So that's also important. Sable, I want to hear from you. I'm going to drop the poll while you speak. So, folks, if you're on your phone or wherever, look out for the poll. We'd love to get your opinion. Go ahead, Sable.
I was just going to add when you were talking about readiness and cultural readiness, that it's more than just like sometimes people think, oh, I saw a movie, but there's certain mannerisms that we can have that we just certain things we do with our hands or not use our hands. All of those things could actually impede or hinder our opportunity to do business because we don't even realize that we're being offensive. And I would just say, as a person who's done international business as a woman, it's also challenging. Also, you have to understand the dynamics and how women are also are perceived, or just sometimes us just presenting our argument or assertive or negotiating really hard could also be offensive, and finding ways to how do you even balance that. And then I want to talk about language, how powerful language is, not only in terms of sometimes in language, there are certain words that, or a certain way they say words that could really give respect or also take away respect. And even though sometimes we may be working in a country where English is also the language of business, but even the English language could be totally different, right? Because one word you're saying in English, I mean, I recall when I used to live in Nigeria, and people used to, there's a difference between a bathroom and the toilet, right? Like those are two different rooms, and just not understanding that, I was like sometimes sending people to the wrong room because I didn't even understand simple things like that. And I just wanted to just add about partnership when you talked about living there and being there. We are so used to in the US doing business on Zoom, right? Like, we're just going to have a Zoom meeting. People want to feel and touch you. Like, they want to know that, like, you're really alive, you're a real person, this is a real business. And it may not happen in a day or two. I know in Asia, the same thing. They're always complaining that Americans are just rushing to, close the deal. We always want to just close the deal, but it's also about building relationships where a lot of times people are asking, they want to know about you, your family, and everything else. And then they'll ask you about what you do. But it's so important that they find about, like, who are you and how do we engage with you? And that's the part where we really have to ask ourselves, how invested are we in growing this business in this particular region? Because it's
Yeah.
not a one and done. You can't just like hop in and then hop out. It may be a year of just relationship building before any money even begins to cross the table. So I just want to add.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I love this because this is we do this every Wednesday because we really want to lean into this. And so if you're in our main WhatsApp group, this is an opportunity for you to share what you know about these things. And you hear people are going into this country or visiting. We were supposed to go to Central Africa in August, by the way, and we had to push it back. Well, we're pivoting to a virtual trade mission. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up shortly because the DR Congo, due to the Ebola outbreak and the guidance that we've gotten from the US, we've decided to pivot to a virtual trade mission, but also gives you an opportunity to understand the partnership opportunities and the other opportunities that exist in Mauritius, Angola, DR Congo. But we're getting close to a wrap up, and I would love to share a few more things with you. With your indulgence, and then Doc, we want to hear some of your points. So why do partnership fail? If you ask me, it's most of them fail because it's just misalignment. It's misalignment. Misalignment in what? And it's expectation. We have the wrong expectation because we never set them up at the gateway at the front. And so it's like, I didn't know you didn't know this. And it's like, okay, because we didn't set them. Unclear value is also a reason that these things fail because we misunderstand each other and our values don't necessarily align. And so that lack of expectation, that misaligned expectation, and that unclear value, those are the reasons. And so you have different objectives, you poor communication, you don't actually talk to each other. You are wanting to partner, but you're not talking, right? There's no accountability, there's no governance. Like who is in charge of what? A lot of times I sit around the table and nobody wants to take responsibility. There's a song that says everybody said that somebody should do all the important things that nobody could do. And everybody knows that anybody could do all the good things that nobody did. It's like, who is responsible? Like, who is in charge? You know, it's like nobody wants to take ownership of it because they are afraid. And so this lack of accountability, this lack of trust, it affects this whole idea of the reason that the partnership fails, right? And so people look up to us here in the US because they admire a lot of the value that we uphold. But when we get into these other spaces, like we have to lead a lot of times from the front. So how do we become partnership ready? You know, what are we, what value are you bringing to the table, right? Why should someone partner with you? What assets do you actually have? Is it customers? Is it the expertise? Is it the network? Is it the brand? Because this needs to be bilateral, right? This has to be a two-way street. A lot of times when we visit these countries or we talk to our international friends, they don't have anything to offer, or if they have something to offer, we don't have anything to give. And it's like there, it has to be a two-way street. There's got to be something. It's not all, it doesn't always, result into money or calculate into money. If I don't have money, there's got to be something else that you can offer. You've been on the earth for 30 years. And if you don't have money, what else can you offer? So, that's important that we think about those things. Brand, is it a brand? Is it a distribution? Partnership readiness really starts with becoming a valuable, reliable partner. And that's very, very important. So here is your takeaway in terms of the pillars. As we summarize this, right? Trade readiness helps you to sell internationally, right? The partnership readiness helps you to collaborate, right? And the investment readiness help you to scale. So those are very, very important, and they all depend on your leadership readiness. I don't see Dr. Linus. I'm not sure if he's on the call yet, but we're having this leadership masterclass that I think is important because it centers a focus on you. Because remember, we started a conversation that you is your business. Whatever personality you have, whoever you are, that translates into your business, and you can't really hide the two. So you need to get ready. And the leadership masterclass is actually, it's a good time to actually be a part of something like that to get ready. I'm dropping the link in the chat for you to sign up for it. It's going to cost, it's an investment, but it's important. It's not an expense. And I think a lot of the things in our readiness kit we see as expense. I'm in marketing, and most of the people that I don't work with are the ones who see marketing as an expense. I only work with the ones who see marketing as an investment because it has an ROI. And so that's very, very important. So I want to stop the poll, and Doc, I want to get your reaction. We're out of time, but I want to get your reaction to some of the stuff here as we kind of wrap up and give our closing thoughts. I see. Thank you guys for sharing the poll. I'm going to end it, and I'm going to show the result. So this matters. What we're talking about does matter, because look at the result. Look at what you're all saying. That you are all 35% of us are not sure where to begin. So this is a real problem. This is hitting somewhere. And I hope you can lean into what we're offering you to really help you to be ready. People are interested in all of the areas of readiness that we're talking about. Some people are highly ready, and we need you to lean in and help those who aren't either, right? And this could also be an opportunity for you to offer something, create some value in the marketplace. People are somewhat ready, and some people are just not sure where they are. Your reaction, Doc?
Sure. Thank you, Brother Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for being on our call today. I'm going to leave you with a story that perhaps should tweak our thinking as we look for doing business internationally. So, a gentleman reached out to us in need of an investor. He needed $4.2 million. And so we engaged in this conversation about what it might look like, talk about his financial, talk about the structuring. But understand, friends, this is a two-way street, right? And please understand this, in these relationships, it's always a two-way street. And so I understand what investors were looking for from him, but then I asked him this question. I said, what is it that you are looking for in an investor? And his answer has reshaped how I think about this entire enterprise right now. And his response was this: I'm looking for a brother. So different from our traditional Western perspective. So, friends, that's why whenever I get on calls, I say, greetings, family. because when we're engaging in these business relationships, we're family coming together. And so it is a two-way street. It's about mutuality. It's about reciprocity. It's about benefit for all. So I thank you all so much for this. We will continue these conversations. This is not the last time. We will continue to lay out the frameworks. We have diagnostics around readiness and the like that we can provide for you. And so look forward to seeing you. Hey, got a call at noon today, Eastern time. It is in the chat for our funding readiness calls. So hope to see you there, and we will be with you on next time. Thank you, Brother Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Doc, for contributing, and thank you for serving. And thanks for all of you who contributed to the conversation. As we close this, remember that global opportunities are abundant. I mean, they are everywhere. But the opportunities alone do not create outcomes. It's actually readiness that does, okay? And so too often our businesses focus on markets before capabilities, before partnerships, before credibility, and capital before preparation. But sustainable international growth is built on foundation of readiness. So don't forget that. And so today marks an important beginning for us because we are going to be talking about this more often. Next week, we're going to dive into more of that investment readiness lane. This is an important journey for us because it's affecting you. It matters to you. Over the coming weeks, we're going to explore these three pillars, and we believe that they're essential for you to do this business internationally, right? The global business is just not about crossing the borders. It's about building a company that is capable of competing, collaborating, and creating value across the borders. And so what we have learned today is really about readiness is not a destination. It is a discipline, right? It is a commitment to continuous improvement, a continuous learning, and continuous preparation. And so what we've learned today is really important. And so as your business continue to thrive, we want to thrive in a future that is not necessarily the biggest, but they're the ones that are the most prepared. And so that's very, very important. And so as you leave today's session, I want to leave you with this quickly. The world is full of opportunities. The question is it's not whether the opportunities exist. The question is whether or not we're building companies that are ready to capture them. And so the global business doesn't happen by accident. Remember, opportunities are created. And so it begins with readiness. So thank you guys for jumping in. I appreciate it. I hope we can see some of you in the masterclass. So we really work on ourselves because that translates into our business. We'll definitely talk next week. We'll be talking specifically about readiness with one of those lanes. The trade, the partnership, will be diving deeper into that so that you can really lean in and fully understand what we can actually do and the value that we can add. Thank you all so much for joining today. Have a great day, and we're going to wrap out. I'm going to share a video for Dr. Linus. He's coming into Atlanta July 18th. Great opportunity for you to participate and benefit, and we're looking forward to having you on board. Let me bring that video up.
Couple of years ago, a great mentor friend of mine taught me the 4 leadership intelligences and the 4 levels of leadership that will make a difference for me. Many years have passed. I have practiced those 4 leadership intelligences. When you experience a learning system, you create something. These knowledge that I've gained has yielded great results in my personal life. I have taught them to a lot of older CEOs and top leaders, and they too have come up with testimonials that these principles have changed your life forever. So I'm coming to your city with these same outstanding models of leadership that is in tune with the 21st century leadership principles. Do everything you can to be in that room. I'm ready to answer your questions and interrogate some of the leadership principles that you have believed in that not brought result. I am ready to help you identify those intelligences, those levels of leadership that will help you be that person that 21st century leadership is in tune with. See you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We'll be doing our demo at 10. You should probably get an email about that on Build and Go Global. We'll go some demo on our platform at 10 o'clock. See you there if you can make it. Have a great day. See you next week. Same time, same place. Ciao,
Hey,
everybody.
Hey, Ricardo.
Yes.
Hey, love. Is that your event with Mr. Linus?
Well, it's his event, but we're partnering with him. Yes.
Oh, okay. You're partnering with him?
Yes.
Okay, I'll reach out to you via text message.
All right. No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great
Thank
job,
you,
Mr.
everyone.
Dr. Nicholas. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Dr.
Good
Harvey.
to see you, Denise. All right. Bye.